Nope. We have to get into it. So I said in the last video that I wanted to dive into some trade talk. Get into a guy or two that could be on the move, and that rhymed so it sounded kind, and I like that because I'm a cool cat. And I thought that we would have a nice conversation about trading guys. Oh, who could stay, who could go, whatever. But I saw this, and I was like, yeah, that's the video. We're making a video about that because I wanted to refer your attention to something that Kevin Woodley said on Canucks Central earlier. I think it was yesterday. Yeah, Canucks Central is the afternoon evening show, so yesterday. Take a look at this post made by Captain Indo-Canadian on our Canucks. There were already people that didn't think that Rick Tocchet was going to stay beyond this contract, and that was based on some of the decisions made. Obviously, the biggest move is re-signing Elias Pettersson. And this is the thing here that I think kind of ties it all together with a pretty bow on top. Vancouver hockey and Elias Pettersson's deployment under Rick Tocchet. We made a video a few days ago already speaking out about how apparently Tocchet was pushing for Canucks management to trade Pettersson until Francesco Aquilini stepped in and said, nah, fam, re-sign that guy. And talk about meddling all you want. You can say that Aquilini sticks his head too far into the business of the Vancouver Canucks. That is not an unfair thought, I think. But to hear that Francesco Aquilini was the main driving force behind Vancouver keeping Pettersson and not trading him away does kind of show you where things lie, because Canucks management, we saw it a lot this year, they listened to Rick a lot. They listened to Rick a lot last year, too. Andrei Kuzmenko doesn't play well under Rick Tocchet, boom, he's gone. Daniel Sprong doesn't play well under Rick Tocchet, boom, he's gone. Erik Brannstrom doesn't play well under Rick Tocchet, boom, he's gone. Heinen, Desharnais, everybody else in between there, when Rick Tocchet doesn't like a dude, Canucks management gets on the move and trades him away after immediately. And if Elias Pettersson was also in that same boat, it seems like Vancouver management would have been interested, or they would have been willing, or they almost did trade Pettersson for Marty Necas or something like that. But Francesco apparently said nah. And now hearing from Kevin Woodley on the radio that there were already rumblings that Rick Tocchet might not want to stick around, particularly in part due to the Elias Pettersson re-signing, it does start to really open your eyes as to what this dynamic seemed to have been. Because the biggest criticism for Rick Tocchet hockey is that it doesn't really have much room for offensive creativity and east-west gameplay. Tocchet hockey is very straight-lined, very hard on the nose, it's very work ethic based, it's up and down the ice based, and a lot of folks who are more slowing down the game types, who are more skilled in exploiting of open space, like the Petterssons or the Kuzmenkos, these guys don't really excel under Tocchet hockey. The guys who do excel under Tocchet hockey are the players that can play a hard-nosed style game and maybe get some offense in there. JT Miller was the best example. He was like the perfect Rick Tocchet player. But Connor Garland, Dakota Joshua, Kiefer Sherwood, to an extent Pius Suter. He's not physical, but he does do a lot of those little things right. These are the players that play well under the Rick Tocchet style. Even Drew O'Connor is maybe the better example of that in the bottom six now. Tocchet-style hockey puts a lot of emphasis on those kinds of work ethic-based players. Elias Pettersson doesn't really thrive based off of his blistering speed or his physicality. He's the opposite of that. Pettersson is at his best when he's stationary, clapping bombs, and making beautiful passes out in front. He doesn't need to skate down the wing like Connor McDavid to be effective. All he needs to do is stop up on the half-boards, make a really nice pass to the opposite side for Andrei Kuzmenko, who walks in, he shoots, and he scores. Rick Tocchet hockey isn't really offensively free in the same way that Bruce Boudreau hockey was, which is where we saw Pettersson get 100 points and Kuzmenko coming in getting 39 goals. Tocchet hockey doesn't excel with that same type of offensive style, and we saw this season and at the end of the playoffs last season that Vancouver was really struggling to get some offense going. Sure, they got miraculous comeback victories against Nashville and against Edmonton, but a lot of these games were low shot, not really too high danger chance hockey, and the Canucks were capitalizing on the very limited opportunities they had. It was so different from what we had come to expect out of a contender status team where you're getting outshot by double the amount, or you're getting 10 fewer shots or 15 fewer shots than the opponent, but you're still finding ways to barely squeak out the win. That's not sustainable hockey. And Rick Tocchet coached this Vancouver Canucks team in the same way he coached the Arizona Coyotes, with that same idea in mind. Mind you, the Coyotes under Tocchet, they didn't do much. They didn't accomplish much. Rick Tocchet only really had a super good stint as an NHL head coach with the Vancouver Canucks last year. And I know you can say, oh, Lego, what are you doing? You're twisting the narrative here. You are starting to talk smack about Rick Tocchet. Yeah, I kind of will. When you think about it, like, last year when the Canucks were faced with this decision, re-sign Pettersson or trade Pettersson, when it boils down to Rick Tocchet really pushing for the trade to go down, you can start to fill in the blanks as to what kind of identity of a hockey team Tocchet wanted to have for this squad. And it's unfortunate because that identity does not align with anything that Elias Pettersson is as a hockey player. And now we are seeing a season where Pettersson's off-season training was questioned, he was hurt, and then he was in a feud with Miller that got really bad and it escalated, and now we're talking about it like, yeah, Rick Tocchet might have not wanted to stick around anyway because of what happened last year where the Canucks re-signed Pettersson. I know you could also talk smack about Pettersson. I've been doing the same thing all year long because he deserved it, because he didn't stand up to the caliber of play that he's supposed to be able to provide. But you also have to question in the background, was Pettersson struggling really just because of his own psyche? Was it all mental for him? Or was there a coaching system in place that just did not cater to his play style and thus made it even more difficult for him to be able to adjust and continue to produce? Yeah, $11.6 million superstar should be an $11.6 million superstar no matter what the coach is saying, no matter what the plan is, no matter what the structure is, no matter what the strategies are. You should be that good of a player if you're getting that money. But I do have to go out there and question if Tocchet's style really did reduce the effectiveness of Elias Pettersson by X amount %. And whichever coach comes in here, will they be able to dig that back out from the subconscious of Elias Pettersson and bring him back to 100-point caliber form? If the Vancouver Canucks go into next season and Elias Pettersson is on pace for 45 points, 60 points, then they're screwed. They need this guy to be a 100-point caliber guy, firstly to live up to the contract, but secondly because the other 100-point guy in JT Miller is gone. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below how the Vancouver Canucks essentially chose Pettersson over Tocchet, and how Rick Tocchet didn't like Pettersson's game style so much that he may have already been considering leaving a while before. This was a really interesting scoop by Kevin Woodley on the radio. We'll read it one more time before we go off the air. There were already people that didn't think that Tocchet was going to stay beyond this contract, and that was based on some of the decisions made, with the biggest one obviously being the Pettersson re-signing. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. I gotta go to the dentist, which is why this video is coming out really quickly. And bye.